There you go.
All right. Well, welcome everybody. We're kicking off episode 4 in our 8-session series on the Extraordinary Lifestyle Entrepreneur Challenge. We're really going to be digging down in today into some great topics. One that my co-host Jim Cathcart is extremely familiar with, the topic of relationship selling. Jim, give that little book a little prop back there. Where is that book you got?
There it is.
Beautiful.
That's the 2015 edition. I wrote the first book by this title in 1985. So this
Wow.
is the updated, rewritten half a dozen times current edition.
Awesome. Well, we'd love to get some participation, and if you're live with us here today, we'd love to see a chat message and just let us know kind of what you're gaining from these previous 3 weeks of the challenge, and share a win with us in the chat feature. And as we go through the presentation today, maybe we'll reference back to some of the wins, or if you have questions about some of the things that you're struggling with, we'd love to see that as well. So Jim, without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and jump right into our presentation today and kick things off. So thanks everybody for participating. If you are watching a recording of this on our Facebook page, or if you're on our website, theextraordinarylife.com, throw a comment. Let us know that you saw it. Let us know that you're gaining value from it, because it brings extreme joy to Jim and I's life to know that we're actually playing a part in your success. So make sure that you give us a little bit of an attaboy or some sort of a feedback loop that says, hey, this is really helping me in this area, or here's a question. I'd like to get some additional help on this. So David Bush, extraordinary lifestyle entrepreneur coach, working alongside the motivation expert and Hall of Fame speaker, Jim Cathcart. Many of you that have been here on a week-to-week basis, you've heard what we've been passionate about, which is to help individuals to design and live extraordinary lives and to create extraordinary businesses as entrepreneurs, as lifestyle entrepreneurs, to help them to do the things in life that they really want to do, and to help them to live the life that they really want to live. We're in week 4. Today we're going to be talking about part 2 of the secrets to success with relationship selling. All of the recordings are inside of our private Facebook group. If you have not become a part of that, you can go down at the bottom of the screen and you can request access. It's just fb.com/groups/the extraordinary life tips. So make sure you join into the group and join into the conversation, because we've got some great resources. Jim has provided us with some excellent resources. I've dug into my library and provided all kinds of great downloadable tools and resources for lifestyle entrepreneurs to accelerate their progress and to help themselves to get organized, to get efficient, and become extremely successful with their business. Next week, we're going to be talking about motivating yourself to take action. It will be a recording. We won't be doing a live version on the 4th of July. Jim and I are going to pre-record that and post that inside the Facebook group. So make sure you jump into the Facebook group to jump in and participate in the week 5 session. So Jim, let's just go through a quick review of the 8 competencies of relationship selling, just for the opportunity to help our participants to really master and comprehend what it is that we're bringing to them today, regardless of whether they're in sales or they're the entrepreneur, or if they're a service provider and they just don't think of them as sales. Let's really nail it down here.
Okay, well, there's a sales cycle, whether you're in sales or not. You know, the sales cycle is the same no matter what product or service you're promoting. And these are the steps in it. You know, preparation, targeting the right people in the right way, connecting with the people so that they trust you and see you as credible, assessing their needs and their wants, solving their problem. In other words, the presentation, showing them how you can help, and showing them how that solution is worth paying for. So the next phase is getting commitment to buy, which is confirming their commitment, typically called closing. Then there's assuring that they're satisfied and remain satisfied. And finally, there's managing yourself and managing sales. So those are the 8 areas that you need skills for. And the skills are not the same in each of the 8. When you put it on this rating scale, you know, where we have this wheel, if each of these lines is a 0 to 10 rating scale, all of us move up and down the scale on how effective we've been lately in preparation or targeting or connecting with people or assessing their needs, etc. And so it's a good tool just for putting a little dot on the line where you think you've been lately in respect to that aspect of selling. And then you can be more surgical about your sales improvement. Instead of just saying, I need a new sales book or I need stronger closing skills, you can see that maybe the reason you're not confirming more sales is you're not really understanding people's wants and needs. Or maybe the reason you're not, maybe the reason your customers are leaving after the purchase and canceling sales and orders is because you weren't doing a good enough job of connecting with them in the first place to gain their trust and to be credible with them. So, each of these needs its own attention, and whichever one of the 8 you've neglected will be the one that interferes with all the other 7 very, very soon. So that's how to think about all of this. Let's go to the next.
Yeah.
This is a bit of profound wisdom. Peter Drucker is the source of that. Things that are measured tend to improve. When people start stepping on the scale each morning and measuring their weight, when they go downstairs to breakfast, they tend to eat a little bit differently than if they hadn't noticed their weight. When people start managing, or not managing, but maintaining a record of all the money that came in and all the money that went out today, they tend to be just a little bit smarter, a little bit more intentional about how they spend or save money. So things that are measured tend to improve just because we're paying attention to them, all right? What do we measure in sales? Let's look. There are 4 things. This is known as the CASH formula, K-A-S-H. Go ahead and fill it out if you would. Thank you. K-A-S-H, knowledge, attitude, skills, habits, K-A-S-H. Well, each of these has a tangible value in selling. Now think about it. There's certain knowledge that if you have that knowledge, you're going to be a much more valuable, much more successful salesperson. There's some knowledge that won't do you any good at all. Like if you're in the field of medical equipment sales, knowing more about automotive lubrication probably won't help. Knowing more about astronomy probably won't help. Knowing more about medical technology will help big time, right? There's also attitudes that pay off or cost you money in sales. If you've got an attitude that the customer's got your money in their pocket and you're there to get it, that attitude will actually cost you money. It will actually lose sales for you because it'll generate an arrogant mindset and it will put you in a position of adversarial dealings with the buyer. But if your attitude is that all selling is about helping people at a profit, because if you help them, you deserve to get paid for it, then you'll approach things in a much more humane, compassionate, and caring way. And people will trust you more readily. There are certain skills that help you a lot in selling and certain skills that are completely worthless to your sales effort. My skills for playing a guitar are good in selling my guitar performances, but they're not good necessarily in selling my speaking and training services. So when you identify the knowledge, attitude, skills, and habits that are going to have the greatest value to you, work on the ones that pay off first. Then let the others be your hobby or your avocation. And habit patterns, they're kind of the essence of how you work, how you live. If you've got a habit of taking a long, leisurely breakfast every morning, getting ready for your day, then you tend to eat up a great deal of highly productive time that could be applied differently. If your habit is to always begin each meeting with a lot of casual chat to put people at ease, chances are good you're occasionally overdoing that and losing people's attention or commitment because you're over talking or you're over listening. There's a time for each. Certain work habits, record keeping, things like that, timeliness, whether you show up exactly on time, whether you dress in appropriate ways. All of those are part of your habit pattern. By the way, did you notice David and I have chosen to go with the theme today? Miami Vice, Crockett and Tubbs. got our T-shirts
Let's
under
go
our
make it happen.
coats. And just, summertime, it makes a whole lot better sense than maybe a shirt and a tie. So let's go to the next screen. What causes sales to increase? If we're going to get real and things that are measured tend to improve, what are you going to measure? Measure two things above everything else. Every day, keep a record of how many contacts you made with people who could say yes to a buying decision. How many contacts did you make today with people who could buy from you, decision makers? And by the way, if you get in the habit of keeping these records, but you keep recording the same people that you talked to day before yesterday and the day before that, that's not going to help you much. Keep a record of how many contacts you have in a given week with people, new people, who could say yes to doing business with you. And the second thing to measure, and keep this in front of you every day, is how many of those contacts involved conversations about how you can help people for pay, how you can help them and be paid for it. If you're contacting the right people, but you're not getting around to talking about how you can help them and be of value to them, then sales aren't going to happen. But if you are talking about that and talking about the value it has to them, in other words, don't just tell them what you do. Don't just show them what you do. Show them how valuable that is to them. For example, if you're selling someone, say, a laptop computer, you might get caught up in all the bells and whistles and features of it and have fun talking about the apps and the software and the interface and the Bluetooth and everything else. But if you're not talking about how that saves them time, how that frees up their mind for more creative applications, how that identifies for them automatically new options that they might not have considered, if you don't show them those things, they won't sense that this has tangible monetary value to them. And when it comes time to quote your price, they're going to balk, because any amount of money seems like too much if you don't remember the value it brings. Okay? So what causes sales to increase? Making contact with people who could say yes, especially people you haven't already spoken to before, and making sure each of those contacts involves a conversation about the value you can bring by helping them. Okay, David?
Yeah, I'd love to just kind of throw it back to the participants, Jim, just on the side of, go back and just, open up your phone and look at your calendar and just do just a quick debrief, because, maybe you're not measuring your progress, because as an entrepreneur, you're in charge, right? So there's no reports to deliver. There's no accountability for you. But let's, Jim and I, be your coach, if you would let us, for just a moment. And just, if you were to support your tracking records for the number of conversations that you created with new contacts that you had not had a previous contact with last week, how many people would you have on your list? And then how many conversations would you have had in the last 7 to 10 days about the benefits of the services that you provide, which is crucial, what Jim had added on to that, for pay, right? Because it's not just talking about your program or talking about your products and services, but actually talking about the benefits for a program or product or service that delivers compensation back to you. And oftentimes it's easy to get distracted in just small talk or just checking up with people and just kind of finding out how things are going without necessarily getting to that real core of the conversation. Anything else, Jim, you want to add to that?
Yeah. Let's say, for example, you're doing fitness coaching. If you're doing fitness coaching for pay, of course, then the people who come to you for fitness coaching, they've got their own motivations, whether it's vanity or health or longevity or whatever it happens to be. But they don't necessarily think of the value of that unless you stimulate that dialogue. So when you're talking with them about getting fit, I think it's important to ask early on in the conversation, what does that mean to you, David? If you come to me and we start working together and you become more fit and healthier, what's that worth to you? How's that going to help you? and then let David answer, and he'll tell you whatever it is that he is concerned about. And then you'll know from his answer how to probe to get more of a robust answer. And say, imagine if you had to put a monetary value on that, what it would be worth. Potentially, it could be worth hundreds of thousands, because if you avoid just one operation, that could be something that costs you a fortune in today's medical world, right? If you enhanced your fitness to the level that you avoided the illnesses that are going around, there could have been many days of lost productivity and misery that you would have had to go through had you participated in that illness instead of avoiding it. So you get them conscious of those things. Now, we had a question on a different aspect of this. Candy posed a question. She said, we previously shared when targeting your market, which would be the second competency. The first one is preparation, then targeting the right people. You need to find out where they hang out and what they're doing and be omnipresent in their world. How do you find out where they are? And let me give a quick answer to that. The answer to that is found in the nature of who you're going after. If who you're looking for are automobile buyers, then where you want to show up is where people look for information about automobiles. In Thousand Oaks, California, where I live, there's an auto mall that was promoted until recently as the world's largest auto mall. And it's a mile or more in each direction, filled with every kind of auto dealer you can imagine. Well, people go there just for casual shopping. And I went there one day when I was in the market for a car. I parked my car at the BMW dealer and I went in. I walked the lot first and looked at various cars. Nobody came up to speak to me. I walked into the lobby. It was a slow morning. And there were maybe 15 people in the lobby. It's a big dealership. And I walked in and confidently walked over to a couple of cars on the showroom floor, looked at them, saw some salespeople talking to each other, asked one of them where the restroom was, and he told me. So I went to the restroom. And then when I came out, he said, "Have a nice day." And I did. I left and went down the street and bought a Hyundai that day. What's wrong with this picture? Well, the customers are going where the things are that they're interested in. That's where they're looking online. That's where they're gathering with other people. That's the chat rooms they're dropping into or the podcast they're subscribing to. That's the places they go. So if you want to find car buyers, where do you look? Look for people that are interested in cars. Look for where you would look if you were a car buyer. And then if you've got to place an advertisement or find a group of people to communicate with, or if you want to go network and hand out business cards, do it in that kind of a location. And, if you've got a suggestion of another type of industry you want me to give suggestions for, by all means type it in and I'll be happy to answer that. But
let me just throw in there, Jim, is that we did put in that ebook, Finding Your Buyers, inside of our Facebook group. So if you have not had a chance to read that ebook, we put in a complimentary copy of that from Jim, and that comes.
It's a short, easily read ebook with lots of graphics and lots of quick stories and illustrations.
Yeah, great question though. So another factor on this, Jim, is that, there's obviously, we've got people that are just brand new into the world of becoming an entrepreneur, and then we've got people that have been an entrepreneur for quite a while, and maybe a lot of their business comes from referrals. What about for those new folks that are, looking for more conversations about benefits? Maybe just talk a little bit about the kind of the law of averages, about the number of actual contacts or customers that you have to have before you actually have some really quality conversations. Because I know that there's some people out there that are watching this that are saying, yes, I know I need to do more conversations about benefits, but I'm not getting to that point. What are some strategies they can leverage to move more people to that point?
The first thing, let's go to the next slide. The first thing is you've got to be making contacts if you want to make contracts. The analogy here is a golf ball. Golf ball typically has 300 and some odd impressions on it. And if it's a retail golf ball, almost every one of those impressions on it is near perfect, machine perfect. You can have a few flaws, but not many if it's going to be a retail ball. And if there are some visible flaws, then it's not a retail ball. It's a recycle. You put it in the practice range and let people just hit it, see how it goes, right? But it's not going to sell at retail. But out of that 336, when a person is getting ready to hit that ball off the tee, they don't need to hit 336 of those points on the ball. They only need to hit the sweet spot that has the 12 to 15 impressions that are going to be in the area where the club strikes the ball in order to get it to go where you want it to go. Well, the same thing's true in dealing with customers. We deal with customers and prospective customers, prospects, every week, and hundreds and hundreds of contacts takes place in a typical business. But only a few of those are really the critical contacts. A lot of those are just procedural, and they don't matter a lot. If you get it wrong, you can correct it, no problem. But boy, when it comes to getting the billing right, that's not only a touch point, that's a trust point. Because if you overbill them, they're going to start getting anxious about dealing with you. The tension in the relationship goes up, the trust goes down, and it's going to be harder to get or keep a sale. So every time we're dealing with people, we need to recognize that there are certain times and certain points of contact with people that pay off big time and matter a lot, and others that aren't nearly as important by comparison. So when we know what those trust points, those moments are, then we can make sure those are always right. For example, last week I talked about the importance of really having your act together when it comes to the opening comments you make and the opening questions you ask. Because that's the time when they don't know you and you don't know them, and both of you are kind of anxious. Your tension levels are sort of high, and it's easy to get things wrong. So be as scripted as you're comfortable being in your opening moments of dialogue with people. And likewise, when you're asking for the order, be as close to scripted as you can be while still being sincere. And make sure that at the time when they're worried about making the wrong decision and you're worried that they might not buy, that goes as smoothly as possible because you're prepared better. So where do you find the people? You find the people in your marketplace. You know, I used to sell life insurance and mutual funds, and I started by going to my natural market, the people I already knew. And I said, can I come over and tell you about my new job? Sure. That's non-threatening, right? A known person talking about something that's not a pressured sale. So I went over and I talked to all the people that I could think of who I knew and told them about my new job. And then I'd ask them, do you know anyone that I should be calling on to tell about this? And many of them said, well, me. And some of them bought. And others referred me to other people. So that's one way to start. And when I would go out and network, you know, go to a meeting or a gathering of people, I would always have a pocket full of business cards. But more importantly, instead of giving business cards, when I got into a conversation with somebody about things related to what I did for a living, I would ask questions, compelling questions to get them to identify their needs. And then I'd ask them for their business card. That's way more powerful than giving them yours. Chances are good they're going to throw yours away, but you're not going to throw theirs away. You're going to call them or send them an email or something later and say, hey, here's some additional information, and you know, more likely to make a sale. So think about the things you do, the places you go, and just think of ways to naturally unfold a conversation around their needs. I was in Chicago 3 years ago, speaking for Bankers Life at the hotel near the airport. And I was training a couple of hundred salespeople, 200 or 300. And during the night before my speech, there was a fire alarm at like 2 a.m, and we had to evacuate the building. And so we all went running down the fire escapes and outdoors, and we're standing around until we get the all clear and we go back inside. So the next day I'm giving my speech. And I said, hey, how did you like the wake-up call last night? And everybody rolled their eyes. I said, how many of you got new prospects during the wake-up call? And they looked at me like, what are you, nuts? And I said, well, what is it you do for a living? And they looked back at me. You know, we sell life insurance. I said, did it occur to any of you as you were standing outside surrounded by strangers to say, boy, I'm glad I'm in the business I'm in? No. Why would I say that? Because the other person could say, really, what business are you in? Life insurance. And situations like this make me remember just how fragile a life is. Thank heavens I'm in this business. And then see if the conversation unfolds from there. Hey, there's never a time when prospecting is inappropriate as long as it's done tastefully, tactfully, and professionally. Well, wait a minute, you can't do it at a funeral. Well, actually, yeah. You could open a dialogue at a funeral, but it'd be really inappropriate to pull out your business cards there. You could follow up with a person later.
Yeah, there's so many different things that you can do to find a buyer. Sometimes it gets overwhelming that you just don't take action. You actually get suffering from analysis paralysis. What's the best way to network? What's the best question to ask? And that's why it's encouraging. We're trying to encourage everybody to actually sit down and actually create a plan. Go back to session 2 where we talked about creating that business plan. What does that look like in terms of what are the marketing strategies? What are the top 4 or the top 3 that you're going to use to acquire new business for your business? And if you don't know what those are and you're not staying consistent with them and you're not spending time with them on a regular, consistent basis, good chance is that you're probably not going to have as many conversations about the benefits of what you offer with the number of people that you'd like to generate the kind of income or the revenue for your business. So all of these things fit in together like puzzle pieces. And as we wrap up today, let's talk a little bit more about
you just muted yourself. So give me back what you said.
So come back and just kind of walk us back through some of these different benefits of really mastering these 8 competencies and how we can begin to leverage these and adopt them into our real lives as entrepreneurs. Okay.
Well, I mentioned to everyone previously that I co-authored with Dr. Tony Alessandra and Jeffrey Gittimer a sales IQ online assessment. And it measures your sales intelligence in all the various areas, 32 different areas of selling. Well, what is intelligence? It's noticing more and understanding what the implications are about anything. Brain surgery intelligence is noticing more about the brain, the mind, the body, the biology, the thought processes, the electrical impulses, and everything else. Sales intelligence is about noticing more about the sales cycle and the processes within it. So if you look at preparation, you'll notice there's 2 sides of preparation: sales preparation and self-preparation. And sales preparation has 2 sides, external and internal. So you want to study the market, study your competition, study existing situations. And internally, you want to study your product, study your company, study your solutions, right? Self-preparation, mental and physical. So you prepare yourself physically to have the tools and the attire and everything else you need. And you prepare yourself mentally to be in the frame of mind and the mood that you need to be in order to be asking the questions that should be asked in a way that causes people to trust you. Well, you can do that same kind of a drill down in each of these 8 competencies. And as you look at the screen here, there's what seems like an overwhelming amount of information, but all it is an explanation of what's already there in each of these areas. And I've divided each one into 2, like targeting who and how you're going to approach them. There's groups, and there's also individuals, companies, and individual prospects. How, strategies, general approaches. How, tactics, specific things to do, etc. You follow it on around there, and all of those become just sort of a roadmap for you to look at how prepared you are to succeed in that aspect of selling. And the more conscious you are of these, the more competent you become at them. And over time, your sales skills grow, and it all starts paying off in very large ways, as long as you're making contacts with new people who could say yes, and you're talking with them about how you could help them, the value of your helping them for pay.
Well, sorry, Jim. Great information. This is one of those things we could probably do a whole workshop on this particular one topic and really, gain some extraordinary insights from you. But we've gotten enough to kind of keep us moving forward. Our encouragement this week is to take the assessment that we posted inside the group. If you'd like to learn more about how to really improve your own personal skills, to understand maybe where there are some deficiencies. And, when Jim asked me to take it, I thought, what, me take it? Why would I need to take it, Jim? But it's amazing what you don't know, and what you think you know about yourself, you may be maybe more awakened to the potential opportunities for improvement when you take this, analytical assessment measuring tool that puts together some really good questions to find out how you think, and then shows you where some areas of improvement are. So great opportunity.
Also, within the report that you get, by the way, the assessment's just 48 simple questions. Here's a scenario. Here are 4 ways to approach it. Which one's best? And all of them are right answers, but some are better answers than others. And it gives you the feedback, and then it shows you a link where you just click right there, and it takes you directly to a short video, like a 3-minute video, where I'm talking with an interviewer about that particular aspect of selling. So it's got a lot of videos built into it that are free part of the assessment. The assessment itself sells for $99, but it's marked special at $79 for those of you that do that link.
Awesome. Next week, we're going to dive into motivating yourself to take action. So if you've struggled with motivation or inaction or overthinking things, or maybe just you're feeling a little bit to the point where life has maybe got you down and you're looking for something to pick you up and to show you how to develop some self-motivation habits, Jim's written a new book called The Self-Motivation Handbook. You can see it there on the screen with Jim's display. Jim has actually written a whole bunch. I think it's 365 different
336.
336. So you got so many we can't even keep track of them all. Different little things that you can do. You can just open up that book and take action. But Jim's going to talk a little bit more about some of that process, some of the mental attitude about becoming a master at self-motivation and not waiting for the inspiring stories or the encouraging word from others to take action, because entrepreneurs are self-motivated people. That's the ones that do it. That's the ones that succeed at a high level. They're not people that wait for somebody else to, get something going. And who is it that said, Jim, that, let me get some heat before I put the wood in.
It was an Earl Nightingale story.
Yeah. Let me get some heat before I put some wood in the stove, and that's not the way it works. And Jim's going to show us exactly what we can do to become more self-motivated, to motivate other people with some very simple tactics and strategies. So check out the Facebook group for the recording and the slide deck from today. If you'd like to stick around, we're going to go ahead and stop the recording now. But for those of you that have stayed on live, if you have questions, we'd love to answer those questions live. So thanks, everybody, for joining us. Stick around if you have any questions, and Jim and I will continue to discuss this particular topic.